Good evening. I will call this meeting of the Westland City Council to order. We begin tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilwoman Andrea Rakowski.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Mr. Clerk, roll call.
Council members, I'd once again remind you that in accordance with the Open Meetings Act as amended, please state the county, municipality, and state in which you're seated at this time. Councilman Godbout.
Present, attending the meeting virtually from Westland, Wayne County, Michigan.
Thank you. Councilwoman Green.
Present, attending virtually from Wayne County, Westland, Michigan.
Thank you. Councilman Herzberg.
Here, attending virtually from Wayne County, Westland, Michigan.
Thank you. Pro Tem Londo.
Good evening, President, and I'm attending virtually from the city of Westland, Wayne County, Michigan.
Thank you. Councilman McDermott.
Good evening, attending the meeting virtually from Wayne County, Westland, Michigan.
Thank you. Councilwoman Rakowski.
Good evening. I'm present, attending this meeting virtually from Wayne County, Westland, Michigan.
Thank you. President Hart.
Good evening. Attending this meeting virtually from the city of Westland, county of Wayne, state of Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you. A quorum is present.
Thank you. We will now open to questions or input on the agenda from the public. This section will allow a person to be recognized only at the beginning of the meeting to address the council pertaining to items that are specifically on the business agenda at the meeting. Questions asked will be answered during the agenda item following a motion and support from the council. I have hand raised from phone number ending in 017.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can.
Thank you, Council President Hart. Richard Graham from Westland and also with Move Westland Forward. Under vouchers and specifically the trust and agency, there is a charge of $37,500 for the Bonner Advisory Group. Can anyone explain what this is for and what department is using this service? It appears from my research they are an economic development group, which is interesting based on the high cost and low level expertise in our economic development department. Under item 1 for new business, it appears the city of Westland lost a lawsuit filed by Octapharma Plasma based on the city stating they needed a special land use to place a business at the old Rite Aid, Wayne and Ford Road, one of our premier corners in Westland. If this is the case, who within the city made the error for forcing the special land use? Who made the error? What were the costs to defend this lawsuit? We should be more business friendly, especially with no growth over the last 10 years. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Next, I have William Asper.
Good evening, City Council. Thank you, Mr. Hart, Council President Hart. I apologize. So I also heard about this lawsuit that the city of Westland lost, and I'm concerned. Westland seems to be getting sued quite a bit. Whether if it's settlements or whatever. My question, I guess, is we have a city attorney. What if I understand he's the prosecutor, but why isn't he doing his job at, I guess, instructing or informing council about what they're voting on and what's legal or not? It's just very disappointing that the city of Westland lost yet another lawsuit and by deterring a business, something that the city needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have, I believe, Tony Farrick. Tony, are you there?
Yes, sorry, I had to unmute. I did not see the agenda. I'm I found this Zoom link on the City of Westland calendar of events. And so if there's, obviously I'm missing the agenda. So, but I do have a question that is not related to the agenda. So will I stay on at the end? I'm assuming you're going to ask for citizens input at again. So let me know, because if not, I'll bring it up now.
That's correct, Tony. There'll be a citizen input at the end after we approve the vouchers, excuse me. So you'll have an opportunity to speak again.
Thank you, sir. I'll wait till the end.
Thank you. Next, I have Mr. Edward Pruitt.
Blessings. This is Pastor Edward here. First, I wanted to speak. I'm going to speak on new business 1, but Mr. Asper spoke on a great component in regards to that, the city attorney and advisement. The city attorney is expected to give sound legal advice to the government of Westland, and we found many times that he is not. So that is a good question that you asked. In regards to this agenda item, we find that it's a lawsuit that was lost by Westland. And a lawsuit that is lost by Westland is a lawsuit that the financial obligations come back onto the residents. The sad part about this lawsuit that precipitated this was there were advisements from the community as well as from at least one council member that this could lead to a lawsuit, that this was unwise business practices, that this should not be the course of action that's taken. We find this time and time again where the government of Westland, whether it be the mayor's office and his administration or the city council from the majority standpoint, we constantly see them not listening to the public, causing the public more financial hardship. And then the mayor wants to say that it is COVID that's causing the issue with potential financial issues. No, the issue that we're seeing, just like with this lawsuit, is the government of Westland is not listening to the people. They are here entrusted with the financial monies to do the right thing, not do what they want to do, but what the residents need them to do, the will of the public, and to protect their money. We have a concern here with this lawsuit because you were told clearly that the vote that you made as a majority should not occur. You were told. And then many in the public are wondering why this lawsuit is happening now when it wasn't communicated. Why was it hidden? I would love for anyone on council who voted for, even against, to speak to why they voted the way they did. Why are we constantly, as residents, tax-paying residents, having to hold the burden of failed, irresponsible decisions? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have, I believe, Blake Perry.
My comment is regarding the lawsuit with the person with death. I feel that when I saw that lawsuit, it really shows that the police department is not on task with the city's disability ordinance, as I said for a couple of years. And I think that the city attorney really should, sit down with the administration as well as the disability commission and understand how the ordinance will work with departments.
Is that it, Blake?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, are there any other comments on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move the consent calendar. Is there a motion?
So moved, Hersberg.
I have a motion by Councilman Hersberg. Is there support?
Support, Rutkowski.
Motion by Councilman Hersberg, supported by Councilwoman Rutkowski. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg,
Yes.
Pro Tem Londo,
Yes.
Councilman McDermott,
yes,
Councilwoman Rakowski,
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. Council has approved the following consent calendar items. Approval of minutes of the regular meeting held February 16, 2021. Approval of closed study session minutes held February 12, 2021. Approval of interlocal agreement with Oakland County for required IT services to support the police department's existing user contract with Clemmis. Adoption of ordinance 248A103, an ordinance to amend ordinance 248 to show CB3 and MRR district classification, where OB and R5 district classification is now shown in the area situated in the city of Westland, Wayne County, described as parcel number 56-072-99-0003-716, the former Eloise property, north side of Michigan Avenue between Henry Ruff and Merriman Roads. This was Planning Department number 2241A. Approval of golf course fee schedule changes. Adoption of prepared land division resolution, several parcels on the east side of Carlson between Ford and Stacy. This was Planning Department number 2245. This land division was approved by City Council on January 19, 2021. Adoption of prepared land division resolution, 2 parcels on the south side of Ann Arbor Trail, east of Middlebelt, Planning Department number 1051H. This land division was approved by City Council on January 19, 2021. The last item approved on the consent calendar, adoption of correction to the meeting minutes of February 1, 2021, new business item 1, which originally read approval of request for a closed study session February 12, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. to discuss pending litigation. The minutes will now be revised to read approval of request for a closed study session February 12, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. to discuss pending litigation pursuant to Open Meetings Act MCL 15.268E and H, to consult with counsel on Octafarma versus City of Westland, and to consider legal advice of counsel exempt from the OMA disclosure under state law. Moving to new business. Item 1, approval of consent judgment Octafarma Plasma Incorporated versus City of Westland et al. Civil action number 20-014-038AA.
So moved. Hersberg.
Motion by Councilman Hersberg. Is there support?
Support, Green.
Support from Councilwoman Green. Attorney Fasson, there was a number of questions about this. Do you have any input? Sorry, Jim, I think you're muted. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you, Jim.
Can you hear me now, Council President?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so much for trying to get better sound quality. So this matter was before the council on September 1st. September 21st. At that time, council voted 5-1 to deny the request by the practitioner or the applicant, Octafarma. Thereafter, they filed suit on a variety of claims. The matter was assigned by the MMRMA to Matthew Zalewski at the Rosati Schultz firm. After reviewing the materials and consulting with my office, a discussion occurred between the Octafarma attorney and the MMRMA attorney about was there a way to resolve this short of going through the lengthy and expensive process to see how it played out? At that time, discussions occurred, and a consent judgment was crafted between the attorneys. A consent judgment is just that. It's an agreement by the parties as to how to resolve a matter. It is not a lost. A number of folks referred to this as, well, you lost another lawsuit, City of Westland. This is a mutually agreed upon resolution by Octapharma and the City of Westland that we think is in the best interest of the city from a number of standpoints. So what a consent judgment does is, upon both parties agreeing to it, the court will enter it as a judgment. In this instance, on a land use planning issue, it then sets forth all of the requirements by which Octapharma can proceed with its development at that corner. There was a question as to the cost from the city attorney's office since the litigation started. That same request was made subsequent, or at the, I believe it was at the study session of a week ago or so. At that time, as I reported out to the city council, we had spent $2,400, and I believe it was $1 on our costs associated with that. This is just part of the legal process. It could well have been that after the denial of the city council back in September, that Octapharma moved on to another piece of property or moved on to another city. They actually, in the discussion, said, you know, we evaluated both of those things, and we almost did that. But again, this is a negotiated process between the parties to resolve this matter without further time or expense.
Thank you, Mr. Fausone. Mayor, did you have something to add to that? I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I did. I appreciate that, Council President. So, you know, as the city attorney said, you know, this went to Planning Commission with a recommendation from the administration for denial. We took a look at their application, and we applied the ordinance to it. Planning Commission denied it, and City Council denied it. I don't think it was unanimous at either one, but they moved forward. The city attorney, who was taking some abuse tonight, he doesn't vote at either the Planning Commission level or the City Council level. He's got to defend the city with whatever the city does. You know, at the end of the day, we were pretty clear throughout the whole process that we thought that this wasn't the best and, you know, the overall best use and potential of this property. Internally, we tried to work with Octapharma to consider another site in the city, actually a couple other sites. And at the end of the day, I think we thought that they would probably ultimately settle for one of those other sites, but they chose to you know, file the suit. But as the city attorney said, there was not a lawsuit, and the dollars that we spent working out this consent agreement was, as you see, was pretty marginal. So at the end of the day, I think that we were able to also secure some you know, some signage issues and some hours, and clean up the property and work with them. I think they know that we're looking to, that's a pretty prominent corner for us as we start to redevelop the Ford Road corridor. So at the end of the day, I think the way that it settled out was probably good for both parties. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Any comments from the maker, Councilwoman Hertzberg?
Yes. Thank you. So I don't think it was mentioned yet, but I do want to clarify. This came about not because we denied it, but because it was considered a special land use. And we didn't have anything for blood plasma centers in our special land use ordinance. So it's not because how we voted that this came up. We ended up, I think it was December, we updated the ordinance to include blood plasma centers, and that, I think that's about when they started in the courts. So just wanted to clarify that. And thanks, Mayor, for the update. I didn't realize that you sat down with them and tried to find them another location. It's too bad they didn't go for it. You know, on council, we're all elected by the people. We hear from all of our constituents. And on that item, we heard from a lot of constituents that they didn't want to see it there. For me, that's why I voted that way. And I think the number one reason for people was the long-term plan and vision we had for that intersection and Ford Road. And, you know, it's just too bad that that business doesn't want to respect that regardless and find a new location. So I'll hold my comments for later.
Thank you, Councilman Hertzberg. Any discussions from the supporter, Councilman Green?
Yes, thank you, Council President. I'd like to thank the residents who expressed concern tonight regarding that particular item. I do recall at a previous council meeting, it was discussed at length. I'd just like to add as a point of clarification and transparency that this particular case that was litigated to reach the summary judgment that we agreed to, there was no new evidence presented by that business owner. So the information that council received and deliberated during the council meeting was the exact information and facts that the owner went to court and presented his case with. And so during that meeting, City Attorney Falzone was asked by myself to give City Council his legal opinion because I expressly stated at that meeting that I had concerns regarding the fact that that company actually did have a very good case against us. The city changed its criteria for that particular company and treated that company, which is similar to another medical provider in our city who had been approved at nearly the same terms that that particular owner requested via application. The city changed the terms and did not want to allow the provider to come into our city. And the provider was given false information relative to what the master plan would allow. And they provided information that their medical center actually met the criteria. Those documents were also reviewed during the meeting. And so one of the most unfortunate parts about this is that as many of our residents, taxpayer-paying residents expressed tonight, is that the expectation is for City Council and also the administration to receive sound legal advice prior to litigation. Regardless of whether we want to terminize this instance as it's not a loss. The reason why the city entered into this agreement is because had we taken it to court, we would have lost based on let me rephrase that. It is a extremely good chance that the city of Westland would have lost based on the facts that were presented during that council meeting and that there was no regard for to prevent us from having to pay legal fees. And so my concern, as I expressed before, is not that, because anyone can file a lawsuit. But the fact of the matter is we pay the city attorney's office almost $1 million a year as not only our city attorney, but as our city prosecutor. And so if the city attorney is asked to give us sound legal advice, it should not take for a suit to be filed against us for us to then have to pay him additional legal fees to litigate a case and offer us the exact same opinion that the city should have received at that city council meeting. Because again, there were no new facts presented with this case that would have made more of a compelling argument by this provider. The city clearly treated this company differently. And as I've stated before, the exceptions that the city of Westland makes in terms of treating people differently, whether it's friends, campaign donors, supporters, and then you have those who may not be under that umbrella receiving completely different treatment, not being allowed to serve. This is one of the reasons why the city of Westland continues to find itself in various lawsuits, unfortunately. And I do think City Council has a responsibility to this because they did receive this information. And I don't know why we continue to have to go to court and pay legal fees to make a sound, what would appear to be a sound judgment and business decision on behalf of our residents. And so this is not the first time, and hopefully it's one of the last times. In regards to the legal fees, again, as I stated, the expectation is that we get sound legal advice from the city attorney to avoid litigation before it actually happens. So the fact of the matter is that we had to pay additional money to a city attorney that we're already funding to do the job that had to be done after the suit was filed. So this is not about a tax, and I would ask the city or our residents not to be misled. There is one thing in terms of pointing out facts, that's a totally different position versus attacks. Attacks are name calling, personal insults, and things of that nature. To call someone on the carpet or expect a response from what is supposed to be an expert in their field is not an attack. And we see that almost at least one out of the 2 meetings we have a month, we hear that at almost every other meeting. Anytime you're asking questions of those that you all have elected or put in position, if it is a question that would require them to issue a direct answer, that is somehow an attack. Please do not allow yourself to be misled or brainwashed into thinking that you as a citizen do not have the right to ask us questions and to hold us accountable. So I am very disappointed that we had to pay extra money to find ourselves right back at the same seat that we were during that council meeting, which is more than likely, based on the information that was already discussed at the council meeting, that company had a better case than we have. And more than likely, we would have thrown money down the drain to try and fight it, because we never should have done the recommendation that was put forward to city council should not have been approved in the first place. And that is my opinion based on all of the facts that we received. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other comments from the council? Okay, I'll just give my closing comments. I think we all have looked at this a number of times. Councilman Hersberg mentioned I didn't want it there. I didn't want it there. I know a lot of residents weren't really happy about it. I've got a couple phone calls. I kind of look at this entire thing, and I think this was a strategic move. We didn't go to judgment, right? We didn't get sued, but it was brought up. But we've got some concessions out of this thing. I think the Octapharma knows that we weren't happy about it, but we all know that that's going to happen anyway. But I look at it as a strategic move. We decided to vote no. They took back, communicated. The mayor had an opportunity to communicate with Octapharma again. And as the mayor said, they almost considered a different location. I look at that as a strategic move. I don't look at that as a foolish move or a blind move. For $2,400 of the attorney's time, we did get some concessions, in my opinion, that weren't there before, that weren't on the table before. Some signage, some landscaping work, some cleanup, and I think we even got the drive-through removed, which is a large cost. So I look at that as a strategic move. In the perfect world, I wish it wasn't there. But I think that the council worked together and kind of represented what a lot of I heard from residents is they didn't want it. So I understand not everybody's happy with it, but that's kind of how these things work. So we'll just move forward. Everybody gets to air their opinion. I'll air mine on that one. So I do thank everybody working on it, and I do thank everybody for how much they care. Roll call.
Councilman Gadbout.
Yes.
Councilwoman Green.
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg.
Yes.
Pro Tem Londo.
Yes.
Councilman McDermott.
Yes.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously. New business, item 2, approval of voucher.
So moved. Mondo.
Motion by Council President Pro Tem Londo,
Support Hersberg.
supported by Councilman Hersberg. Steve, did you have any answer for the voucher report?
Thank you, Mr. President. Actually, I see Aubrey's on the Zoom, so I'm going to pass that over to her, and then I can fill in the blanks if need
Ms.
be.
Berman, can you address that, please?
Sure, thank you. Through the chair, the charges for a consulting agreement with Bonner Advisory Group for the development of an economic development strategic plan. This is a requirement of the Redevelopment Ready Communities program, which you guys know we're seeking certification for. It was also cited as a recommendation in the master plan and both the sub-area plans for the TIFA and DDA districts. The TIFA and DDA approved an expenditure. They decided to split the funding for the development of this plan last month. And then after that approval, we found out that the Michigan Department of Treasury determined that they would actually fund this in entirety as part of their community engagement program. The stipulation is that the reimbursements would have to go directly back to the city. So we did a transfer into the trust and agency fund for the entire cost of the plan from the DDA and TIFA boards, or the DDA and TIFA budgets. And we will cut the checks to Bonner directly, and then the Department of Treasury will reimburse us for those funds. And we will then in turn reimburse the TIFA and DDA.
Thank you, Aubrey. Any other discussion from the maker? Councilman Hersberg.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Aubrey, I missed that last part. Did you say that we're going to get reimbursed for those costs?
Yeah, so Treasury will reimburse the city, and then the city will reimburse the TIFA and DDA.
Okay. Is this not something that the city could do on our own? I know we did some visioning sessions for Ford Road and the mall area.
Those were also done through consultants with McKenna and Gibbs.
Okay, thank you.
Are you all set, Councilman Hersberg? I'm gonna lower your hand. All right, is there any other discussion? Roll call.
Councilman Godbout,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilman Hersberg,
Yes.
Pro Tem Londo,
Yes.
Councilman McDermott,
yes,
Councilwoman Noakowski,
Yes.
President Hart.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, we now move to comments from the public. Everyone speaking before the council shall do so in a civil manner. Speakers shall refrain from abusive or profane remarks, vulgar language, disruptive outbursts, threats, racial slurs, or other conduct that interferes with the orderly conduct of the business meeting. Personal attacks on council members, the administration, city staff, other speakers, or members of the public will not be tolerated. The clock will start upon the first words of the speaker and will not stop while the speaker is recognized from the floor. It is the speaker's option to ask questions at this time, and the person questioned may choose to respond during the speaker's allotment of time. However, the clock will not be stopped once it is started. I have a hand raised from Mr. Pastor Edward Pruitt.
Blessings. Hey, I appreciate you calling me Pastor Edward this time. My name, again, like he said, Pastor Edward, and I heard a lot of comments here. I really have listened diligently, and I want to make sure this is clear. I take supporting the residents seriously, and I stand in the gap for those that keep being neglected by the decisions of this council and this administration. Let us be perfectly clear. This, whatever legal maneuver you're saying is not a lawsuit, it did not have to happen. That's where we must take accountability for our actions. The residents of Westland are forgiving if you take accountability for your actions. Second, Falzone said that if we didn't lose, as a Westland didn't lose, but the decision by the Planning Commission, which is the administration, and Westland City Council is opposite of what's happening now. That is a loss. Let's stop playing with the intelligence of the residents. mutually agreed upon, I understand. But it was a loss because it wasn't what the government of Westland wanted. Third, the mayor said that the city attorney took abuse. Stop playing with words, because the city attorney did not get abused. The city attorney got questioned, as residents are supposed to. The guy brought a comment forth. Stop playing with the intelligence of the residents for whatever purpose you have. Your decisions within the administration and the legislative component are abusive when they affect negatively the pocketbooks of the residents. Abuse, using that term out of line, is manipulation. Now let's finally talk about the $2,400. There are people desiring and needing $1,400 in survivor's checks. That could have helped one resident in Westland if you had taken the right steps. I am tired of this government abusing the residents. That is all.
Okay. Next, I have phone number ending in 017.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can.
Richard Graham again with Move Westland Forward. Any answer to when the beautification committee will be filled? I asked this last week with no answer. Regarding the COVID vaccinations for Westland residents and specifically seniors, it was appalling to see the countless residents tell their story that confirms my conversation last Monday with a city employee at the Friendship Senior Center. This center is a paid membership to enter, and they have been gathering names and compiling a list for many weeks, if not months. These paid members were told they would be at the top of the list and given priority over other Westland seniors because of their paid membership. It was amazing but not surprising to see Mayor Wild fail regarding the first round of COVID vaccines. Other mayors blew by our mayor to get their seniors vaccinated over the last 2 weeks, along with it not being in Westland. You have to wonder who Mayor Wild pissed off at the Wayne County offices, or a city and its facilities
watch the
are
language,
just not
okay.
Not capable of having this type of event, while surrounding cities can be for their residents. Residents have to travel almost 30 minutes to reach Schoolcraft College in Livonia, and we heard some left today because of the cold wind and standing in line outside for up to an hour. Just the facts, folks. This is what you get when you have a part-time mayor. Regarding the last council meeting about purchasing the Wayne Westland Marshall Upper Elementary School and what to do with it, Mayor Wild does not need to look any further than what Romulus has given their residents, and also Livonia, where the community rec center was where a former high school once sat. Mayor Wild campaigned for the Livonia mayor and recently set a team to watch how they handled COVID shots for their seniors. Interesting Councilman Landau's comments from the last council meeting regarding Jefferson Barnes. He scolded residents and fellow elected officials for not seeming to know what Jefferson Barnes is or is not. Councilman, those that you scolded know exactly what it is. It is a satellite community rec center at best, but only for a very small population that can use it. Plus, it is there because of federal funding. Many residents commented and gave their opinion of what can be done. Overwhelmingly, the residents want a community rec center and do not like it to be called a senior center. It should be for all residents with no labels. It was funny listening to Mayor Wild tell a tale about selling the current senior center. The old City Hall Community Center property, along with Hawthorne Valley, has not sold for many, many years now. Residents want something to attract and keep younger people in Westland, and according to Mayor Wild, these are the people leaving the city. They want what was taken from them. Mayor Wild is counting on millions in general fund dollars based on federal COVID relief money. So there is a very good start for a community center that was taken away from the residents. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thank you. Next, I have William Asper.
Good evening again, Council. So there's about 4 or 5 things I need to touch on. As I was listening to Mayor Wild regarding this lawsuit against the city for the plasma center, I thought it was disgraceful that Mayor Wild threw Muhammad, the planning director, under the bus, saying that, well, the planning said no. That's not how a leader behaves. The second thing, regarding the lawsuit, he said, it's a, what, $2,500. And you guys are saying, oh, it was beneficial. We turned out, it was a good talk, this and that. The taxpayers are paying the money. If Mayor Wild wants to pay it, go ahead. None of you, only taxpayers are paying it. Regarding Falsone, when he was speaking his turn, there was one thing I caught, and if anyone else did either, he never admitted guilt. He never said he didn't do anything wrong. He never said he didn't advise incorrectly. This reminds me of the marijuana grow a month or two ago. You guys voted, well, it was a vote, it got pushed back that there wasn't going to be any marijuana growing in residential, which would be against state law. And I believe it was Councilwoman Green asked Mr. Falsone, could Westland get sued? And his response was, well, anyone could sue anybody. So instead, to not get sued again, put the pressure on Falsone. If he says yes or no, and you guys get sued successfully, then you can sue him for legal incompetence. Now, the rental mortgage assistance from the COVID grant, I mentioned this back in November, December at the last in-person meeting. This money is gone. After I mentioned it, 2 months after, 87% of the money is gone. The FOIA coordinator is not providing FOIA as to where it's going to, as he's supposed to do, FOIA violations. Last thing, court officer Reddy, Martin Reddy, the deputy mayor's brother. I have rental properties, of course. He has been defying court orders. He is the only one that is allowed to evict in the city of Westland. He charges between $600 and $800 each. This is price fixing. This is possibly an antitrust lawsuit, which could also get the city of Westland sued. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you. Next I have, and I apologize, I don't want to mess it up. I have David Radoy. I hope I got that right.
That is correct. Can everybody hear me?
I can.
All right, thank you. And I thank the city council. I'm an attorney that represents one of the marijuana business applicants, and I just wanted to put the city on notice about what's been going on regarding the marijuana review board and the selection committee. After applications were turned in, the scores were released to just a simple score without any actual particular scoring. And the marijuana selection committee indicated that they were choosing to go straight to the lottery under the claim that the selection review process required a lottery prior to any sort of appeals process. I did send an email to everybody on the city council, as well as that I could email from the board regarding that. I don't believe that that makes any sense, just logistically, nor is it required under the criteria set out by council. Under section 5.7, it states, after hearing all appeals, the board shall issue a written recommendation that it upholds the list or modifies the list in whole or in part, and then any resulting tie shall be resolved by selection committee pursuant to sections 4.9 through 4.13. Then after basically already doing the lottery, the appeals process was given. However, the Marijuana Review Board held a hearing last week on Wednesday where they essentially paid really no mind to any of the particular issues in any appeal. They lumped all the appeals into just one group, some that had no merit, some that had a lot of merit. I know many that had merit to them. And just after about 5 minutes of discussion without talking about any particular issues, denied all the appeals. And what this is given is a real appearance from the outside of impropriety, that something isn't right. Nothing was discussed. There was no deliberation. I had previously FOIA'd asking for meeting minutes and how these definitions were reached and what meetings were attended by who. And I was told this was all done closed door, which could potentially be some violation of the Open Meetings Act. When it came down to actually discussing the reasons for the appeal, when many people had very meritorious appeals, There was absolutely no discussion of any kind. There were some notes where the review board would rest on the exact wording of the ordinance and say, well, we have to stick with the wording of the ordinance. And then in the next breath, they would talk about how they had impugned subjective intention upon the city council and would ignore the actual definition of words such as property. And that property doesn't include a building, although all definitions.
Okay, Mr. Ridoy, I thank you, but your time has run out. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your consideration. I would just note, I believe the city council should take action, so there are not.
David, I got to cut you off, so thank you. Right, next up, I have Ms. Denise Edmond. Give it a second here. Denise, are you there? Denise, hello? One last time, Denise, I'll have to move on. Is your phone muted? All right, we'll have to come back to you, I think. Next up, Tony Farrick. Tony, are you there?
Yes. First, what I wanted to say was I want to thank you guys for captioning ever since Zoom enabled the automatic speech recognition on their package. You guys have to set it up on your end in order for me to see it. So thank you for including the captions in your meeting. There is a big fail on captions, as you may or may not know, but it doesn't. There must have been at least 5 or 6 incidents where Mayor Wild came up as marijuana. It's just kind of incidental. I mean, kind of funny because marijuana did come up. But that brings up to the next point. Richard, when you were talking about the reading from the agenda, I would ask you to keep your camera on because captions, because they fail, there's a lot of people that read lips. And so I noticed you turned your camera on later, a little bit later. So if you could turn your camera on earlier, that would be appreciated. The next thing I wanted to talk about was first, the agenda was not in the calendar of events, as I had mentioned. And I'll ask Richard Graham or somebody else where the agenda items are, since they seem to have them and I didn't. The next thing was I sent a letter to the mayor through the website at City of Westland on February 18th, and it was regarding the snow plowing. And the snow plow, you can track where the snow plows are. That's a pretty cool thing. Unfortunately, it may be tracking some stuff that you may not want to be tracking. I was peeved about it, very, very upset, because I'm on the south of Avondale subdivision, Denise Street, and our street was not plowed. I have a low profile tires on my car. I could not even get out of my subdivision. My wife works at a hospital. Fortunately, she was off those couple days, but it could have been a real pain in the butt since I would have had to go on down the street with a shovel helping her get out. Anyway, there was no answer to that letter. So, okay, I understand the streets needed to be plowed and there's a priority set by some algorithm somehow in our subdivisions, obviously on the low end. But what's so bad was there was a couple streets in Garden City, I watched after lunch. I could see throughout the day. I was bored, nothing else to do. So I was watching that snow plow. That was cool. Anyway, so the plow leaves the city of Westland, goes into Garden City, and does a street, goes around the street.
Hey, Tony, I hate to do this to you, but your time's run out.
Okay, well,
as a reminder,
Mayor,
you can always call the mayor's office and email any of us too, and we can hand.
He did not give me an answer. So, I mean, I would love to have an answer. That's all I'm looking for. If this is the response I'm going to get, well, then I won't even bother contacting the mayor's office. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have phone number ending in 186. Phone number ending 186. Are you there? Oh, I can hear
Good
you
evening.
now.
Can you hear me?
I can. Please
Great.
proceed.
Hi, my name is Kevin Blair. I'm an attorney for Loom Cannabis Company. You may recall I spoke with you during an in-person meeting in November, the night before the election. And we have been pushing for a more fair, more transparent process for the cannabis selection and for the decision makers to consider site-specific factors. Your policy specifically contemplates that due to this novel process, there would need to be some flexibility. That's in 2.6 of your policy. The policy also specifically contemplates getting Planning Commission input to the selection committee. That's in section 4.1. And the Board of Appeals can have input from any city department. That's in section 5.5. However, neither the selection committee nor the board took us up on our request that they consider Planning Commission input or any of the site-specific factors, and they have uniformly said that their hands are tied and they're just following the policy. And I think that just ignores the plain language of the policy says that there is flexibility. And to the extent that they're handing the buck now to you, you are the body that will make this decision, and you will be accountable, good or bad, for who gets selected. The policy is very clear and the ordinance is very clear that no matter what the board recommends, it is the council that will make that decision. And the Loom is one of the applicants that tied for the perfect score south of Ford Road. There were 4 applicants that tied with that perfect score. And that was decided then by drawing names out of a hat. The person who was drawn out of a hat shares a property line with an assisted living center. And the ordinance says you can't be near residential. And so the assisted living center isn't zoned R1 or R2, but there's no dispute that there are people living in that building. So I don't know how it's even gotten that far. The second key issue is that the winner out of the hat wants to squeeze a marijuana business on a 0.5 acre lot on Ford Road, a very busy road. That is just not safe. There will be atrocious traffic. There will be accidents. And again, this council is the one that will be accountable for that when the community gets very upset about that coming to reality. I think the decision makers are seriously underestimating the traffic. This is a big market. There's a lot of the neighboring communities have opted out, so there will be people traveling to Westland for these stores. There were 4, as I said, 4 tied for first place in the group among Ford Road, and 3 of those were on Ford Road. Loom is not on Ford Road, and that was on purpose because it's so busy. Loom chose a site with 3.62 acres.
I'm sorry, your time is up. Thank you so much. Next, I have Chris Stuckey. I hope I got that name right.
Yeah, that is correct. Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening. You know, I was calling to keep the council posted on a concern I raised back in December regarding unwanted newspaper delivery. I opted out. Again, I've been opting out about 2 or 3 times a year, and I have documentation through an email from the Free Press that I was opted out back on December 29th. But this Saturday, they started appearing again in the driveway. I looked at the ordinance. It appeared that if nothing else, I need to be on the porch. So I did contact the ordinance department through the forums to advise them of that, to see if there was anything I could do through that process. But I don't know. I just want to let you know that I was able to opt out for 2 months and they started coming back. It's really frustrating to see them in the driveway after I've called repeatedly asking that they not be delivered.
Is that all set, sir?
That's it.
Thank you. Next, I have Ray Schultz. Ray, are you there?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead, Ray.
All right. Well, anyway, sitting here listening tonight, I took some notes here. First of all, I know we had that big snowstorm. I'm in Westland a lot. A lot of times I park in my car and I talk to people, and the complaints were that there's been like some of the sidewalks have not been shoveled. I heard one of them was City Hall and a couple businesses. I'm very passionate with people with disabilities. Now, I just don't want someone to get hurt or get run over by a car. You know, I hope to want to see you guys get another liability here. Anyway, I do want to give credit to the Westland Police Department. I just want to say, they're trying. They're doing a good job, what I see. Anyway, the fire department too, because these are frontiers. They're always out there working all the time. And next thing I want to say, the Disability Awareness Month. They're not in the closet. They're all in the community. People these days are living a life, celebrating for the month of March. And also, I'm going to be having an email address for the Disability Concern coming up real soon. And also, keep in touch what's going on and stuff with people who have concerns. That way I can bring them up. Also, let's see, what else does, I took a little bit of notes. Looks like pretty much I got everything. Oh yeah, one more thing, mental health. I want to say, Mike Dermott, thank you for recognizing me for the hard work that I do out there too. And I want to thank you for what you were doing on that too, that's making recognizing on that. So with that, and also Livonia PD has 2 social workers for mental health. That really helps the police departments out. And hopefully Westland will come up with something like that. You know, a lot of times people we always, the way I like to look at positive things, the way I always look at when it comes to dollars, people always seem like it's a bad thing if someone made a mistake. You know what? People can learn from that mistake. And hopefully that doesn't happen again. So that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Next up, I have Blake. So Blake, I'm going to hit allow to talk here. Just last time your microphone was pretty loud, so just double check it real quick, just letting you know. So I wasn't sure if you were aware. So Blake, are you there?
I'm trying to get my mic feed. Is it loud now or no?
It's pretty much where it was at, so I'll just turn down my speaker a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay, I just have 2 things. The first one is, hey Google, what is disability diversity?
According to Disabled World, it means understanding that each individual is unique and recognizing our individual differences. These can be along the dimensions of race, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, age, physical abilities, religious beliefs, political beliefs, or other ideologies.
So as this is intellectual awareness month, and then my second main thing I would like to say that I do think that we should abide by HR 4752, which is an Equality Act. I think that people with disabilities could really benefit from it. And one of the things that I do take away from is that I know I represent a lot of people on the Wayne County at state and county level. And I just feel that we're not agreeing with disability policy issues because of political situations. And I think that that's really bad. I have felt really comfortable saying that, there are certain people at the table, and the person said it's okay to say there's all white people at a commission meeting. And so that's what it is. And so as I deal with policy, this is something that is really unfair, unbalanced. Just like I understand if I'm reading something, I know how to use the bylaws, the structures to bring things to order. And I think that this has really been a frustrating thing, and a lot of people feel left out. And I'm done.
All right, thank you. All right, next I have the initials AK. AK, are you there?
I'm here. Can everybody hear me?
I can. Proceed.
Awesome. My name is Eric Clark. I'm the CEO and founder of Quality Roots, a Michigan premier cannabis company. I'm here tonight in the spirit of a collaboration and partnership with the city of Westland. First and foremost, we also appreciate how diligent and how swiftly the city moved through this process, and how transparent it was for, I believe, the citizens of Westland and also all of us applicants. Quality Roots is poised to build a $20+ million facility at around the corners of Cherry Hill and Newburgh. We are excited to bring possibly hundreds of jobs to the city of Westland and further help aid with the city of Westland's future developments and future goals. And again, Eric Clark from Quality Roots, here in spirit of a collaboration and partnership with the city of Westland for today and many, many, many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I have Dan Stachow. Dan, are you there? Dan, can you hear me?
There you go. Can you hear me?
I can hear. I was getting ready to dump you, Dan. So yep.
Oh, come on
So
now.
go right ahead.
I'm not going to throw daggers at anybody tonight. I'd like to comment about the price hike at the golf course. Hopefully it's going to be rather minimal. It's a nice little golf course. It's kid friendly, family friendly, and anybody any age can play there. In fact, Mr. Mayfield, prior to his last injury, has played with us, and Mac's been playing with us for 25 or 30 years. It's a great little course, so we'd like to keep it going, but at a relatively good price. Also, I'd like to comment on some food banks that are out there that never get mentioned to the general public. The first one would be at St. John Episcopal Church on 555 Wayne Road, just south of Cherry Hill. They do their distribution of food the second Tuesday of every month. And another one, which is really a fine organization, if you ever have a chance to volunteer and do some community service, Gleaners. They're going to be at Jefferson Barnes Community Center at 32150 Dorsey, and they're there Tuesdays in March the 9th and March the 23rd. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much, and thanks for a great job with setting everything up for COVID vaccinations.
Thank you, Dan. All right. Next, I have Stephen. Stephen, are you there? Stephen, can you hear me? Hello, Stephen. This will be my last shot here, and then I'll have to move to the next one. All right, Stephen, I'll have to go ahead and drop for now. Maybe you can try again. Moving on to owner Arthur. I believe that's Art Warren. Hello, Mr. Warren, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I can hear you. Please proceed.
Okay. Over the weekend, in between Middle Belt and in between Annapolis and McDonald Street on Middle Belt, there was the opening of the smoke shop, and which set off a tremendously bad relationship with the community. There was a lot of drag racing. They shut down Middle Belt North and South to drag race. They were all in the community. Folks were all in the community, disturbing the community. So what I'm requesting as the president of the Southeast Westland Homeowners Association is for that, to have some liaison from the administration set up a meeting with the owner of this establishment so we can kind of get an understanding of what kind of business he's going to run there. And hopefully that he can get along with us members in the community. But right now, we're not on a good setting because of these disturbances. Thank you.
Thank you, Art. Appreciate that. Next I have Dan Pollock. Dan Pollock, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, President Hart.
Go ahead.
I had some of the same concerns and I guess questions that Mr. David Radoy, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, mentioned. During the marijuana appeal meeting last Wednesday, I had a question and was directed to ask it here since that particular question was said that they could not interpret the city's intent. With regards to the random drawing to differentiate ties, I'm just wondering what the city's purpose was to have that prior to exhausting the appeal process. If there, by process, was a second random drawing that would supersede it in the event of a change in scores due to the appeals that were all rejected. It just seems redundant, and if anything, appears to put the city in a place where it would be incentivized to reject appeals rather than have a second random scoring selection that superseded one that already took place, inevitably more than irritating the people that won the first random drawing. My other question, this is directed to all city council members, and that's just a general question of whether or not each of you support the decision of the review board to reject all appeals without deliberating on individual appeals. As it was mentioned, it was a blanket statement with basically no deliberation. And by not addressing the reason for individual appeals, either written or verbal, the review board did not do its job to act as a transparent, independent review. It looked like there were some confused faces. I know I've got a little bit more time left when David mentioned the interpretation of property versus land. If anybody is unaware, the rubric states a remediation of contaminated property would be awarded points, and the board took it upon themselves to interpret property to only mean land, and that no remediation of a building on that land would be considered property. Meanwhile, the review board did not give a reason one way or the other why they sided with the selection committee, thus not being a review board at all. So again, I ask that each of you respond with whether or not you still support this process and whether or not it is a fair and transparent process for all applicants involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next I have, all right, Stephen, you're back up. Let's see if we can get this to work. Stephen, are you there? I see
Hello?
you. Oh, I think I heard you.
Hello?
You're there.
Okay. I just have a few things. We have this All-American City. We have it posted all over Westland. We have so-called tagline and compassionate city. I don't think we're living up to that, just for a couple reasons. We do have citizens that are speaking, then they get cut off. I know we have a 3-minute time limit, but you know, if we're an all-American city, I think when people are speaking about issues that they have, I think it would be fair if we're truly the all-American city or the compassionate city, you would allow the citizens or people having business in this city to state what they need to state. Two, I think you're treating people differently, because if a state rep comes in, they get more than 3 minutes. If a county commissioner comes in, they get more than 3 minutes. They are no more important than a citizen or a person that wants to do business for the city. So I believe that's a disparity of treatment, and I don't think that is right. So I think that needs to be changed. Two, I would like to know if you sit on a committee in the city of Westland, do you need to be a resident of the city of Westland? And I would like to hopefully receive some answers at the end of the meeting pertaining to that. And I would like to know why the disability committee for the city of Westland still has not filled their position. And I would highly hope that Blake would get it. He is well educated. He knows a lot about disabilities, and he would definitely add diversity to our commission. And I still don't know why he wouldn't be appointed. I would hope that would be looked into. I know the mayor is the one that appoints those positions, but I would hope that it could be looked into by the city council. Thank you, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. All right, Denise Edmond, let's try this again. So let's see if we get your phone working.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, Denise, go right ahead.
Yay. I have 4 comments. Number 1, for the life of me, I have no idea why I can't find this meeting on the City of Westland's page. Maybe we could put it on Facebook too. I looked under events for March 1, and there are no events listed on the events calendar. So I had to go to Tasha Green's Facebook page, and I was able to get in through doing that. Secondly, I see that Mo may have dropped off, but I was wondering if there was going to be a announcement and a hearing for any marijuana facility to be located in various parts of town. So for example, I live at Cherry Hill and Newburgh, which it was just mentioned that one of the facilities is looking at locating there. So I'd like to be able to have some type of hearing about that. Thirdly, I agree with the guy who talked about those papers with the pink paper bag. I keep trying to get rid of them, and they seem to just keep coming back. And then the last thing is, I hope that the mayor in his closing remarks will give an address to the community about the update on the COVID vaccine. I know the website, he's been keeping us updated on that, and I'd appreciate it if he could just give us some quick summary at the end of the meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. All right. Are there any other comments from the public? We should address the council. Use the raise hand feature. All right, I see no new hands, so I'll go ahead and close citizen comments and move to comments from the administration. Mayor.
Thank you, City Council President and City Council members. Just a couple of things, and then I'm going to give an update on the COVID vaccination event from today. The last question about the City Council agenda on the website under the calendar of events. We'll check on that tomorrow with Craig Brown. So Council, we'll get back to you on that. Arthur Warren and the issue with the smoke shop. I'll reach out to Mo tomorrow and we'll figure out who the best person to meet with. It sounds like the issues you had, it's probably going to be somebody on the police department side. So we'll look into that tomorrow and circle back with you. Mr. Farrick, I did see your email from February 18th, and I did forward it to our DPS director to take a look at it. I don't have it in front of me. The context that I remember was that you were bringing it to my attention. I appreciate that. But I'll circle back with you tomorrow after I talk with the DPS director and give you an update on that. And then the last thing, Council, before my update on vaccinations is just a reminder that this Saturday at 9:30 a.m. we'll be doing our next strategic planning session with the administration, City Council. This topic will be economic development, and it is our goal to, by the end of the day on Thursday, to get you the agenda. We actually have a meeting tomorrow to wrap up the draft agenda. So we'll get that to you. So you have a couple days to take a look at it before the thing on Saturday. All right, and then so obviously there's been a lot of action locally on the COVID vaccinations, and in Council, I think I'll back it up until last week. I believe on Monday we probably heard it the weekend prior to that the Wayne County Health Department was going to start having vaccination events in the community. And keep in mind that up until that point, they had been having them at their health departments, and the closest one to the city of Westland is on Van Born Road and Vinoy, and that's where our public safety had been getting vaccinated. So when the county made the decision to move out into the counties, we put out a graphic that the county shared with us, where they basically split the county outside of Detroit into 4 regions. And each region was at that point graded with what they call the social vulnerability index, which is something that the CDC puts together. And we've shared all that information on the city's website. So when word got out that the county was starting to do events, the first wave was in 8 communities. And basically, if you look at the 8 communities that were part of the first wave, there was the top 2 cities based on the social vulnerability index in each region. So those were the 8 cities were the top 2 in the 4 regions. So word got out on that last Monday. Tuesday morning, there was a conversation with the county. They had all the elected officials, and of course, every community that was not part of the first 8 was going nuts and wanted to know when is our turn. We received word that evening, Tuesday night, that there would be an event coming in Westland, and originally we had identified the Friendship Center as a great place to do it because it had been pretty much closed and it was working well, the parking lot for testing. When we got word that we were going to be awarded the chance to vaccinate some residents, the decision was made at the county side that they would be utilizing Schoolcraft College through the Vista Tech Center. Now, they had been using this site for other vaccinations for public safety and some other things that the county was doing. So I think at the time they made the decision that they had the infrastructure in place. They had support of the National Guard. They had support of the Department of Homeland Security, and they had the infrastructure there. So when they told us that our event would be the following week at Schoolcraft, and they told us we had 2,000 vaccinations, I had a choice of either saying no, thank you, or yes, we'll go to work immediately. So what we had to do is we had to go back and create the appointments and registration, and it really was all hands on deck. We had the first day that we put out the word in council, you've seen our updates on social media and through emails. That first day, we processed 4,500 calls. And I know that there was an article that said that Canton Township had 1 million phone calls the first day. I would encourage you to sit down and do the math on that. And I think that was a little bit of an exaggeration that turned into a headline. We processed 4,500 calls, and it took a couple days, but we actually got all 2,000 appointments scheduled. We had 2 teams. We basically had with my administration, and we reached into the clerical pool. We had 2 teams. We were taking phone calls to register people, and we had a whole nother team on the other side of the building that was scheduling appointments. You can imagine scheduling appointments for 2,000 seniors age 65 and over that were getting phone calls. And our team was stressed that we were going to be very patient. We were going to work with them and give them time to, if they had to call us back, they could. So those phone calls took quite a bit of time and quite a bit of manpower. But we ultimately got those appointments scheduled. Today was the first event. We scheduled people from 8:30 to 4:30. We did exactly what the county told us to do. Our Vaccinate Westland team, which was led by Fire Chief Jim Morris, myself, Vic Barra, Barb Markham, Craig Welcomeback, Craig Brown, and Shannon Akron, we did exactly what they told us to do. They said to register people and then work from that list and schedule these appointments. They told us to schedule 250 appointments for every hour slot from 8:30 till 4:30, and there was a break in there for lunch. That is exactly what we did. So today I was out at the site, and I know several of you were too. And what we saw was that I think it was a well-oiled machine once you got in the door. But today we had a lot of people that came early. So we found out real quick, this is the first one that we did, but I think it was a learning opportunity for all of us. The vaccinations were set up that if your time was, let's just say, from 8:30 till 9:30. Ideally, what the county wanted you to do was to get there at 8:30 and fill out your paperwork and go through the process, and they'd have you out the back door by 9:30, about 1 hour for each 250 block of people. What we had though is that everybody showed up early. So at the first opening bell, we probably had 400 people for the first 250 slots. And that just repeated itself each hour as the day moved on. I think what we learned is that there's a form. Once you got inside the door, there was a form you had to sit down and fill out. Initially, the county, we talked about putting that online so folks could fill it out before they got there. But the decision was made, the county told us not to do that. And we're going to talk with them about that, because that's what kind of slowed down the process. Is once you got in the door, you had to sit down and fill out that paperwork. Then the process started. I can tell you that everybody worked their tail off on this. There were a lot of volunteers. I can tell you that Vic Barra and Shannon in my office, they worked, as we called residents, every single one. They had an issue with transportation. They were handled differently. We worked, Vic Barra worked with Macon Transit and SMART, and we had transportation for everybody that needed transportation. And I'm telling you that wasn't easy, but that part got handled today. Other than the line that you heard when people having to stand outside in the cold, I don't think we heard any issues about people with transportation. So at the end of the day, there were some people that were upset, and I talked with some people, and they certainly let me have an earful when they did. But then they also offered some suggestions, because they know how important this is, so that as we continue to do these, each and every one can get a little bit more smoother. While we did have some upset people for being outside today, I think as the day went on, we got better at it. And by the end of the day, we processed all 1,500 people today. They were vaccinated. We scheduled people from 8:30 to 4:30, and we finished the list by 4:15. So I think overall it was a successful day. Now we were lining up people for Wednesday, and we did have some cancellations for today. Some people thought twice about it. Some people didn't like the fact that it was the Moderna instead of the Pfizer, and some people got vaccinations over the weekend through other means. So we did clear up some spots, and we filled those today, and we filled more for Wednesday. There is a list that we're continuing to build on, and the phones rang all day long today with more people that want to get on the next list. So as we get through Wednesday and start to fill in the rest of those openings, we'll get back with council and kind of let you know where we're at with the list. I had a conversation tonight with the deputy county executive, and the cities that are organized and have lists and have the ability to do these appointments are going to continue to have vaccination events. So as we see where we're at with the list, we'll be reporting that to the county so that we can continue to have our residents vaccinated. We're gonna work and see if perhaps we can have the event at the Friendship Center or someplace in Westland. I know that there was some concern about that. As the vaccines become more available, I think we're going to have more and more opportunity to do that. I know that Chief Morris is working to have the fire department, the fire personnel certified, so that we can start to maybe get to the point where we can have firefighters go to people's homes or nursing homes or some senior centers and actually take care of the vaccinations that way. I can tell you I was extremely proud of our fire personnel today. They were, the administration from within the fire department were administering vaccinations, and they worked their tails off too. So hats off to Chief Morris and his staff. I can tell you that just a couple other things is everything that I heard, everything I've been hearing through all of our different channels is that there's a lot of vaccinations coming to Michigan, that over the next couple of weeks, there's really going to be a lot. So I think that as those vaccines start to become available, that some of the pressure, today's event was a supplemental event. Ideally, we want people to be vaccinated through their healthcare, through their doctors and through their hospitals and their clinics that they're comfortable going to, and that people know their health concerns. And we do expect secondary vaccination sites to continue opening, as Myers and CVS and Commissioner Anderson told me that even Sam's Club may be offering some vaccinations soon. So we're just getting started. There's a lot of folks that say, I'm not 65, but I've got health concerns, and I'm 59, I'm 60, I'm 58. What about us? We hear you loud and clear, and we're looking forward to hopefully very soon moving on to other segments of the population. I did hear today that the FEMA site down at Ford Field was starting to process. I think they had teachers going there today. So the good news, I think that there's a lot of help on the way. So we're going to have to continue to be patient. We'll continue to work with our residents, and at the end of the day, I really don't know what else to say, Council. We've worked really hard on this. Not everybody was happy, but at the end of the day, we did get all 1,500 people vaccinated by 4:30. So all in all, I do think it was a successful event, and Wednesday's event, I anticipate, will be much smoother, and we learned a lot today. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor. Anything from the Attorney's Office tonight?
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, I wanted to address the comments made by some of the marijuana license applicants. Council, this is not yet before you. Obviously, it was not on today's agenda. The Marijuana Review Board completed its work last week. I believe that you will receive their results or recommendations here this coming week. I'd remind you that you passed an ordinance that allowed for one provisioning center north, one south of Ford Road, 3 in the industrial district, and a micro business application as well came in. So there were 6, if you will, licenses that were reviewed and scored by the selection committee. There were 32 applicants in total. Obviously, at the time the ordinance was adopted, you did not know how many people would apply. 32 applied. There were ties in the first round. The tiebreaker that was part of the ordinance was implemented. Again, at the time you adopted this, you didn't know if anybody would appeal. The Marijuana Review Board process was an appeal process, and in fact, only, if you will, 24 of the 32 applicants did appeal. Many of them had the exact same appeal argument. Hey, I didn't get as many points as somebody else. You should have scored me this way. There were really just 3 or 4 generic types of scoring issues raised by the applicants. And I think when you get briefed on this, that will all sort of be laid out. Nobody is going to be happy in this process. As I say, you've allowed for 6 licenses, and there were 32 people who applied. So there's going to be more unhappy people than happy people. You've heard about the potential for litigation in this matter right from the get-go, and certainly that's what some of the attorneys today commenting about were indicating as well, and they've certainly have indicated such in emails to the various participants involved. It will come now that the selection committee and the Marijuana Review Board have done their work. It now comes to City Council. The chair, Council President, will set a time, I'm sure, for a greater briefing and a greater opportunity to be heard by the applicants to explain why somebody else shouldn't get the points or they should get the points. and they should be one of the lucky 6. And after that, whether it be a study session or some other method, the council will have the opportunity to take that matter up and vote. You were asked during comments to specifically answer the question, do you approve of what the Marijuana Review Board has done or the Selection Committee has done? I would tell you, if you're looking for my advice, which you may or may not care to hear or follow, that it would not be appropriate for city council members to comment or answer those kind of questions at this time, since you have not been briefed on the process yet of the full Selection Committee and Marijuana Review Board. There'll become a point in time where you have been fully briefed, and you can certainly express your opinions fully informed. But I know those people who spoke today would love you to take a position that they can later use when or at the time that you're going to vote. But again, at that time of the vote, you'll be fully briefed as compared to where you're at now. So I'd encourage you to think about that difference as you go forward. I think I'll conclude there, and hopefully that's given you some information about how the process is, what its current stage is, and what expectations on a going forward basis are. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. We begin council comments tonight with Councilman Hertzberg.
Thank you, Council President. And as usual, I'll just tee right off of Mr. Fassone's comments. Thank you for addressing that. I did hear some concerning things that now I do have questions about based on what some of the applicants have said here. But we'll get into that, of course, in the next few weeks. The only thing was Ms. Sedman asked if there's going to be a time for input on the projects, and yes, there will be. When those individual projects come up on our agenda, you're going to be able to speak at the beginning of the meeting. You're going to see the council packet for a few days, and you'll be able to reach out to all the council members prior to that vote. And then I just wanted to let the council president know I talked to Councilman McDermott and Councilman Godbout. At this point, we're looking at setting up a subcommittee to review some of the ordinances, some things that have come up in the last year or so. One of them being bicycle registration. Another one, which was talked about now, is hookah lounges. We don't have anything on the books for hookah lounges. So anybody can open one at this point until we get something on the books. As we heard from Mr. Warren, what's happening down there with the drag racing. I know that Dearborn Heights had several hookah lounges 10 or so years ago, and the city, through ordinances and policing, kind of pushed a lot of those businesses out because of what kind of clientele they were bringing. And it all depends on the location of the business. Are they loud at night? Can residents hear it? So I do think we're going to start to run into some of those issues. And as well as the newspaper ordinance that was brought up again tonight. We'll see if we can spruce that up a little bit, try to get some sort of enforcement. There's a lot of decisions that council makes that people just aren't respecting, and we got to do something about it. The only other thing that I have on the vaccinations, I'm glad everything went smoothly. I think that myself and a lot of the residents, it was brought up earlier, we're expecting the mayor to talk about, it was said that they were charging membership to the senior center to get on the list. Unfortunately, I talked to a few people who confirmed that. Maybe there was some sort of miscommunication. I know the state gave authority to the cities to start building lists, I think in early February. But the general public didn't really find out about that until after it was posted on Move Westland Forward. So that's kind of disappointing. I'm not sure if that information was shared with Barb at the senior center that it should be open to the public now. I know she was building a list for her own event. And in the emails we got, it says that's the list we use to build off of. So it in fact is true that most of the members at the senior center were vaccinated first. I did talk to a few people that got a membership and didn't have any intention of using the center at all. And they only got it to get on the list. So I'd like to ask for a refund for a couple of those people. I'll have them reach out. think that's about it. You know, I see the mayor has his hand up, so I'll leave it at that. It's just a shame that we're the only city being accused of charging for the vaccine. I mean, that's what people are saying at this point because of the way it was handled, because of the miscommunication. It was a confusing time. My own parents didn't even know how to get on the list. They asked me, and you know, the mayor had a Facebook post up a week prior saying that, you know, an event's coming soon. There was people calling the senior center that knew to get on the list while the rest of us didn't know anything. So thanks. I'll let the mayor go. Thanks.
Mayor, can you care to respond?
Yeah, thank you, Council President. So Council, I heard your concerns and I heard some of the social media chatter. I talked with Barb. Barb sent all the council members communication explaining what she was doing, and she talked about her working with her connection at CVS prior to the county announcing that they would be having an event here. So I think that there was some miscommunication there. She tried to clear that up with you. She worked her butt off today over at Schoolcraft. She worked that line like nobody's business. She made sure that everybody there, she answered questions. A lot of the people that were there today had not been out of their house in 365 days. So she spent a lot of time with people. And if there was anybody that thinks that they were charged something, I'll make sure you get a refund tomorrow. You don't have to worry about that. But council, when you say things like there's this rumor out there that Westland is the only people charging for this, you got to be careful what you say, because first of all, your first call should either be to myself or to the senior director and clear that up, because when you say something like that without being able to verify it, that hurts the reputation of
Sir, I did talk to the director. I'm sorry. I did talk to her, and I confirmed it with several residents. I'm 100% confident that's what was happening. So,
Councilman Herzberg, I appreciate it. Let him finish. I wouldn't let him cut you off.
But at the end of the day, we clarified that the ways that you registered to get on the list, and as soon as the county told us that there was going to be an event, the ways where you could call the mayor's office, you could go online and sign up. We added the click and fix, and you can register at City Hall. So like I said, I thought Barb cleared that up in her communication, and I would encourage you that if you still have questions about that, or if you think there's a resident that Barb needs to sit down with and refund money, explain money, let's do that. I don't think this is the proper place to do that. But at the end of the day, we've taken care of, today we took care of 1,500 people, and Wednesday we're going to take care of 500 more, and we have a list for the next event. So at the end of the day, while whatever miscommunication we had at the beginning, that is in our rearview mirror, and we're moving full steam ahead. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Herzberg, do you have anything else?
I appreciate the response. Again, I did talk to Barb, and nobody was attacking Barb. Barb does a great job. She's a 24/7 director over there. But in her communication to council, she did in fact confirmed what I said, and being that the list that she had been building for several months was the one used to schedule the first 2 vaccination events. So the first 2 vaccination events were for mostly members. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay, Councilwoman Green.
Thank you. I'd like to start by informing the community that I was able to work in partnership with Burning Bush Church and Wayne County Executive Warren Evans' office to set up a COVID testing site on the south side of Westland so that residents don't always have to travel closer to the area of City Hall. Burning Bush Church is located at 30355 Annapolis Avenue. It's right at the cross street of Annapolis and Henry Ruff. Every Wednesday, there is free COVID testing. Not everyone is planning to take the vaccine. And also it has been confirmed by the CDC that the vaccination does not cure COVID. So testing is definitely still something that people may want to continue to utilize as an option. So that's going to take place every Wednesday. Most recently, or excuse me, the next upcoming date is Wednesday, March the 3rd. It's going to be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And in addition to a free COVID test, residents will also receive free face masks as well as a free box of food. And that is free to all residents, residents of the city of Westland, and to anyone who can make it there. Again, 30355 Annapolis Avenue, Burning Bush Church, this Wednesday, March 3rd from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. In terms of the comment made by our resident, Tony, I'm sorry, Tony, I did not record your last name regarding the concern you had with plowing. I know the mayor touched on your email. I don't recall seeing your email. But I just want to encourage you to reach out to any member of city council. If it's something that you don't feel has been addressed, there's a lot that goes on in the city. I'd be happy to work with you, as I'm along with the mayor's office, to make sure that, you know, it's addressed promptly, as I'm guessing every member of city council would be willing to help. If I can ever be of assistance, please call me. I can be reached at area code 734-828-7010. Mr. Stuckey, who brought up the concerns regarding the newspaper, unwanted newspaper, this is totally unacceptable in our city. And we've had multiple meetings with these people. The city attorney has met with them, the mayor's office. I would like to see us take some sort of action, because we can't continue to write ordinances that are ignored. And like you, Mr. Stuckey, I still get newspapers thrown in my yard, and I'm not a customer of theirs either. So I'd like to see the city hold them accountable for the disruption they continue to cause in our city. Relative to the comment in regards to marijuana, I want to thank the city attorney for his recommendation in terms of the action that city council will take. So I will do just that. And I have received contact from some people who are applying, and I have referred them right back to the city, and I have let them know the city council has not been briefed, and we have no information, and until that time, there is nothing that we are able to contribute. So thank you for that recommendation, Attorney Falzone. And with that being the case, I do look forward to hearing from each of you in detail after we are briefed, so that I can make a very informed and ethical decision on behalf of our city. Finally, I would like to just speak in terms of the vaccination registration process here in the city of Westland. As Councilman Hertzberg stated, there was an email that City Council received from Barbara Markham, who runs the senior citizen division of our city. In that email, it basically was confirmed that many of the actions that were alleged appear to be true. And I believe I'm the only city council person who responded to her in writing, expressing grave concern about what occurred. And I am going to state for the record that I believe it is irresponsible and inappropriate for the city to attempt to refund anyone's money without action being taken. This program is a federally funded program that was brought to the city of Westland to assist our residents. It did not cost Westland a dime to run that program. The money comes from the government in terms of the vaccines. And so most of the people who are taking these vaccines are taking these vaccines in hopes that it might save their life. You know, people are fearful. There's death. People have lost loved ones. There is death all around us. I've lost so many people from COVID-19. So the fact that we have people in droves, especially senior citizens who are willing to stand outside just to get a shot, it's not because it's a trend. They want to be able to save their life. With that being said, the the even slight possibility that the city of Westland took this as an opportunity to not only increase membership at that senior center, but to do so at a charge to our residents during a pandemic that again costed us nothing to offer to our residents. I believe that is just absolutely disgusting in my opinion. And so once I became aware of it, I actually made several posts all over Westland on multiple Westland boards. And I am putting out a call to the residents tonight. If you are a Westland resident who called the senior center to get placed on that list, and you were either told that you had to have a membership at that senior center to get on the list, or that members would be vaccinated before non-members, I would like to hear from you. Please call me at area code 734-828-7010, regardless of the fact that the memberships are what some believe is a reasonable rate. It is a despicable action. If it is proven that the city of Westland did that, there needs to be action taken. And I think there is an attempt to sweep this under the rug, and that is not the correct thing to do. I am calling on the members of City Council to open up a full investigation, and as a body, we have the ability to do that. And I would like to see a vote put on our next agenda, and each member state why or why not they're not willing to investigate what could potentially be either illegal or definitely unethical actions on the part of city officials in our city. If we are able to hold residents accountable, fine them, place all types of rules and regulations on them based on the rules and things that we have in place, I'm certain that the CDC, the state of Michigan, and the federal government, and even the county, Wayne County, would not stand in agreement if it is confirmed that Westland played a fear game with our residents to grow our occupancy. And Barb did state that they've been doing that. And I will state on the record, I have talked to about 15 Westland residents who responded to those the posts I made on social media, and they confirmed that they it is true that they were either told one or both of those remarks. And so I don't think that we should allow this to be let go, because we are not above the law or ethics, and we need to be held accountable. And if any refunds are given to any of these residents, in my opinion, that's just throwing fuel on the fire, unless you're going to take appropriate and swift action to make sure that something like this never happens in our city again. So I am calling again on City Council to open up a full investigation on behalf of our residents, or if you are refusing to do so, you need to be brave enough to say that I would rather just stand in agreement with my friend, or that I'm not willing to do my job on behalf of the residents, because in my opinion, to not do so is a gross abuse of the representation that we owe our citizens. And so again, please call me, and I am not going to allow this to be swept under the rug. I have already reached out to different officials and state departments of the state for calling for input in terms of what happened here in our city, because there seems to be none from the officials who could be involved in this, or all of us know about it and nothing is being done. So I'm calling on the residents to also hold us accountable, call for an investigation, so that we can ensure that you are not subject to this type of thing in the future. And if it's not vaccinations this time, it could be something else next time, and it needs to be nipped in the bud. So we need to investigate this and hold everybody accountable, responsible. And after that point, then we issue refunds. Thank you.
Mayor, I see your hands raised. Did you have something you wanted to address?
Yeah, just council, once again, the senior director sent a communication to council and she clarified this. All right, so my recommendation is that we collectively work together to get our residents vaccinated. Any efforts that the efforts that were just laid out to me, it seems like there's certain members that never miss a good opportunity to try to make the city or the administration or the mayor or the people that work in the city look bad. And to do so in the middle of a pandemic, I think is probably about as low as I've seen some people go. And it's been brought to my attention that certain people have contacted the local media and have asked them to do a story about this. People, the story is we have people that want to get vaccinated. We need to be working together to make sure that we can get as many people vaccinated as quickly as possible. Like I said, Barb explained the process that she was using, that the process we're using now is what I would laid out, and it's on the website. So I would just say that, we need to be working together on this. And in times like this, what I like to hear is I like to hear my fellow elected officials call and say, what can I do to help? Is there anything that I can do to help? If you're not doing that, I got to ask you, why are you in public service? These are the times when our residents need us the most. We need to be working together. We should be pitching in and all of us helping together. So there's times to if we want to have battles, but in the middle of a pandemic is not the time. We need to be working together. And I would ask each and every one of you to go home tonight and figure out what I can do to help, and then call tomorrow and offer to help. That's all I have.
All right, so usually we don't go back and forth in comments, but I went out of turn, and Councilman Green, you respectfully get the floor back. So your hand is raised.
Thank you, Council President. I'd just like to state regarding that comment, to accuse me or any other council person of coming after city officials who more than likely violated the law by what the actions that they took. You would rather us turn a blind eye, but if any of our residents speed, they are subject to traffic tickets. If they don't keep their property up, they are subject to fines. If they don't pay their taxes, they could lose their home. But if we have officials who actually could potentially have used this pandemic and as not only a way to manipulate and bully people into memberships instead of just putting them on a list, which was what they were supposed to do, for you to state that, it perpetuates the fact that many of the things are swept under the rug in this city, and they're okay for us, but not okay for our residents. This is not an attack on anyone. I think you, as the mayor, leadership starts from the top down. And Barb is your employee, and you are essentially the chief executive of this city. And they don't report to me, but even as an elected official, I am appalled with all of the death and sickness that has occurred with this. I have lost my sheriff behind this, and you knowingly are sitting here and attempting to offer an excuse for your employees who could potentially have extorted money from people who are trying to get a shot to save their life. How dare you? So I will say again to residents, this matter is going to be investigated because I am more concerned about what is happening in our city in terms of accountability. And I am willing to stand up for these residents, whether I am supported by my peers or not. And that is the commitment that I made when I ran for office. So what I will tell you is that I worked to put a COVID testing center on the south side of Westland, the side that resources are very rarely invested in. So when you make statements about what are you doing, I'm working for my community. That's what I'm doing. And I expect all of us to be held accountable, including you. Thank you.
Okay, next we have Councilman Godbout.
Thanks. Once again, I find myself having to make comments when I really wasn't going to make any comments tonight. But, there were several things that were said. One, and the mayor explained it, Barb did a letter to each one of the council members explaining the situation and what had happened. I was satisfied with her explanation. But, it's easy to find fault, not solutions. And that's what one of my colleagues continues to do about everything. Find fault, not solutions. Not once has there been a positive suggestion made on how to make things better for this city. It's constantly tearing this city down, tearing the administration down. And, it's just gets very frustrating. I love this city. I've spent a lot of time and effort trying to work in this city to make things better. And to see a member of this city council continually, not just on this, but on almost every subject, try to find fault. And it's always with allegations, not facts. So it's very unfortunate that during this time that, we're still experiencing that. The event today went off very well. The mayor was right. There were people there way early for their appointments times, which backed everything up. But and to say that it didn't cost the city anything, it didn't cost us for the vaccine, but it cost this city money to have all the personnel out there, to transport all the other materials that were needed to be there, and to have all the directors and the fire department working there. That costs this city money. And if you can't understand that as a council member, then, there are bigger issues with the ability to adequately fund and, protect this city's funds. So anyway, that's all I have. Thanks.
Councilwoman Rakowski.
All right. Sometimes I feel like I'm at a loss for words after some of this. Okay, so we all know we're closing in on a year of unprecedented times. It was about a year ago, literally, that everything started closing down. And everybody has been learning to fly literally from virtual classrooms to how to develop a vaccine in record times, and even how to get vaccines out to vulnerable populations. And the saddest part of that is that there isn't a perfect way to do that. But the good thing is there are ways, and, our city, like many other cities, are doing the best that they can. Cities like Livonia rolled out their vaccines first in senior housing. And, that's housing that the city collects money from people living in those senior developments. So, every city in the state was tasked to utilize their senior resource centers to start formulating those lists. So, when some cities have residents that live in city subsidized housing, or if you have senior resource centers or your Meals on Wheels, or there's any various ways that you have senior lists, that's where all of the communities are beginning to pull their information. There's irony in the fact that we're going to get better as we do this, that we're going to learn as we continue to vaccinate people, because I don't know if there's a more tragic statement that we have to continue to vaccinate people. We're living in a pandemic. There's a virus that people are afraid of. And no, the vaccine isn't a cure, but it's a peace of mind. And, to me, I'm proud of the fact that we were able to reach 1,500 of our seniors today. And we got them their COVID vaccinations, their round 1 shot. That's 1,500 people that are going to breathe a little easier. And they're going to have to not worry quite as much when they go on with their lives day to day. I'm not going to bring home COVID to my family because I'm the caretaker and I'm doing the grocery shopping, or I'm not going to be shut in and excluded from my family, or I'm not going to miss the opportunity to hug and kiss on my brand new grandbaby. I think today was a good day. It was a darn good day. Was the weather ideal? No, but we live in Michigan in March. So we were, it could have been 50 degrees out. It could have been 30 degrees out. I mean, it was just 50 degrees, 3 days ago. So yeah, that was rough. But you know what? I think the people that we vaccinated today are some of the toughest sons of guns in our community, because they are the vulnerable, and they're still standing, and they stood in line, and they're taking responsibility for themselves and their families. And against all odds, they're standing in the cold. And, I wish there was a way that we could bring them all inside, but we had to work in concert with a community college and with the county. And so we did the best we could with that. And like I said, there's irony in the fact that we're going to get better. But we're going to. Every community is going to. Westland in particular, we've got some of the best people on it. The other part of that, there's a catch-22 about how do we get information to seniors. Most people I know that are 65 and older aren't sitting on Facebook. And those that are getting so much information thrown at them, they get just as much misinformation thrown at them. And then they have to decide what's the right information. And that's terrible. But that's why we as representatives and young people and neighbors have to call our citizens and our residents and help them out, help them navigate, right? Because none of us have been through this before. So we have to be a little compassionate, and we have to encourage one another to take care of one another. We have to encourage one another to get on the list, get on any list. And especially in our city, we're still formulating a list. And as we get more people on that list, we'll get more opportunity. And that's really all people want right now, is they want a little hope and they want the opportunity. So, making 1,500 people's lives easier is a win. And that's a contribution to moving past the pandemic. And, the mayor mentioned it. Ask what you can do. I did that. I rolled up my sleeves. I put on my boots. I did what I could do. Anywhere you could put me, I did it. And so I kind of fall back on something that I was raised on, and is that there's two sorts of people. Those who are going to work towards the solution and those that need to get out of the way.
Thank you. Councilman Mike McDermott.
Good evening. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to everyone involved in today's vaccination event over there at the Vista Tech Center. I want to thank the administration. I want to thank the fire department and everybody who volunteered down there. The mayor and his entire team, from the mayor, Barb, anyone that was involved in there, thank you for making this event go off today and be a successful event that was able to get 1,500 Westland residents over the age of 65 vaccinated. So thank you for all the hard work that went in prior to this for weeks and weeks, and thank you for the work that you all did today. I know this is not a one-person show. This is a multi-person team effort, and there was a lot of work that went on behind the scenes that some of us got to see on the council level, but many residents didn't get to see planning this event. So thank you again for all the dedication and the hard work that went into getting 1,500 Westland residents over the age of 65 vaccinated. I had the opportunity not only to read Director Markham's letter that she sent to council, but also talk to her directly for almost a half an hour late last week, just to get some of my concerns addressed. I knew that there was some stuff going around on social media that residents were communicating to some of us on council, also to people directly on social media. One of those was in regards to the list and how it was being formulated. Yes, it sounds like there was a list that was built off of. And in talking to Barb, she made it clear to me that you do not have to be a paid member of the Friendship Center to get on the vaccination list and to be vaccinated by the city of Westland at this event. That was made abundantly clear. It was a question that I asked directly to Director Markham, and it was, made clear to me by her that they were enrolling Westland residents age 65 and over for this event that took place here today and is taking place again a couple days from now. So that was an important question that I got, had the opportunity to speak with her directly and get addressed. So certainly, I don't think any one of us want to see, membership be the cost for getting a vaccination. We want to get all of our residents 65 and over who qualify in the age bracket vaccinated. And if somehow there was an edict sent down, or somehow there was somebody that was working the phones that was pushing that, well, then that obviously has to be looked at, but I don't think that was the case. I know that wasn't the case because I talked to Director Markham directly about that. And I know that there was a whole team of people doing a lot of diligent work behind the scenes to get this list formulated. So thank you again to everybody that was involved in this and made it a very successful event today. As far as, people waiting outside in the cold, I think we would all like to have, a situation where we could be properly socially distanced inside, where people don't have to wait outside. Unfortunately, when you have 300 and 400 people kind of flooding the gates at once, it does make it a little difficult. But, again, as my colleague Councilwoman Rutkowski said, it is Michigan. It is cold outside in the beginning of March. And if we can, for future, be able to get people indoors, obviously that is preferred, but that is not always the case when you have that amount of people showing up in that short amount of time. In regards to future events, obviously I'd like to work with the administration and work with the county to see if we can all collaborate on this to get an event at the Friendship Center so that our residents don't have to travel to Livonia and they have the opportunity to do an event here in Westland. I know that's something that the administration wanted to see. I know that's something that they talked to the county about in regards to this event. This was entirely a county, planned event from the Evans administration. So that isn't something that we got to step in and say, hey, we demand the event be at the Friendship Center at City Hall. Obviously, I think that's going to be a preference moving forward. And we, from the administration on down to your council, want to work with the county to see where we can, for the future events, have them take place here in the city of Westland and where would be an ideal location. But again, this was not something that we got to dictate to the county where we want it. The county is running the vaccination program through their health department, and they told us where the event was taking place. They had the operation already set up, ready to go from prior events at Schoolcraft at the Vista Tech Center, and that is why the event took place there. So again, I just want to reiterate a big thank you to everybody who took place in today's event and making it very successful and getting 1,500 people vaccinated. And the event is going to be taking place here a couple of days from now. In regards to the Dr. Pharma situation, I'll just say the same thing I said at the time. I voted against that because I don't believe that we should be deviating from our master plan every time a business wants to, come into the city and say, hey, let me build here. There's a reason we have a master plan for the DDA district there on Ford Road. And I think that we want businesses that are, in line with what a downtown Westland would look like. And certainly, that was my opinion at the time, and it remains my opinion today. Obviously, we have went through what we did with Dr. Pharma, and we have a settlement, and they're going to be building there at the property. Developing the property, and I think that we got a lot of good out of it by getting concessions in regards to signage, in regards to greenery and shrubbery that they're going to be doing to spruce up and make the property look nicer. I know that it was our attempt to work with Dr. Farmer to see if there was another location that they may want to go to, and as the mayor mentioned earlier, they were potentially looking at that and ultimately decided that they didn't want to do that. So my vote on that was that we have a master plan, that we wanted to stay consistent with that master plan for building a downtown Westland, a vibrant shop and dine area that our residents can enjoy as a downtown. And I wanted to stay consistent with what residents were telling me they wanted, not only in a downtown, but also at that property. There were multiple residents who reached out to me on social media and via call saying that they were opposed to the Octa Pharma development because they didn't see that in line with what, you know, a downtown looks like, and that they understood that's a prime piece of property where there could be something else, another type of business that they wanted to see go at that particular location. So I listened to those residents who reached out to me on social media, reached out to, I'm sure, many of us on social media or with phone calls and emails, you know, voicing their displeasure with having that type of business located at that location. So there were residents who were certainly, you know, had some questions and concerns about that type of business being there at the Ford and Wayne property. And then in regards to Mr. Stuckey, who brought up the newspaper thing, again, this is something we've all brought up as, you know, your council multiple times. And it unfortunately seems like the newspaper company, Free Press News, they're just not listening, and that we continue to have this repeated problem. So we're aware, we hear you loud and clear. I get them on my driveway as well, and it is certainly very frustrating. So you know, anything that we can do to take, you know, make some movement on that, you know, I certainly know would be appreciated by you and many people in the city who continue to bring this repeated issue up. And then with that, I don't believe I have anything further. Again, just want to thank everybody who made today's event really successful. You know, I look forward to going on there to the next one to be able to check it out. I saw the Facebook Live this morning from the mayor and Council President Hart, you know, when the event kicked off. So it looked like things were going well then. And by most accounts, it was a, you know, very, very successful event today. And really proud and honored that our city was able to get 1,500 residents vaccinated. So with that, I have nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Next, Council President Pro Tem Mike Londo.
Thanks, President Hart. I'm actually going to be somewhat brief tonight. I want to start off tonight by thanking Wayne County Executive Warren Evans for working with, and the Wayne County Health Department for working with Mayor Wild and his administration to bring this vaccination event to Westland for our seniors. Mayor mentioned earlier about the county COVID call. That's something I join weekly. I know Councilman Murkowski was sat on this week as well and was listening in. And as the mayor stated, there was a lot of communities that weren't chosen for the first round of vaccinations. There was only 8 communities of the 43, well, really 42 communities, because Detroit has its own health department. But of the 42 out-county communities, only 8 were chosen for the first round of vaccinations. So you can only imagine there were communities like Westland, like Van Buren, like, I won't name all the communities off, but we're very frustrated with not, you know, wondering when we're next, when are you coming to our community? So I appreciate the mayor standing up for our community. And, you know, that very same night we got word that we'd have a vaccination event here in the community. So I appreciate the mayor working with the Evans administration and the Wayne County Health Department. And I really, really, really want to thank the mayor's entire administration for all their hard work and dedication to working with our seniors to get their vaccinations scheduled. I was at City Hall on Friday and I did my normal walk around, and every single one of the directors had a phone up to their ear, and I wasn't able to speak to them, but I was able to eavesdrop and heard how patient they were with our seniors. I did talk to a few folks and thank them for everything they're doing. Everyone from Shannon Akron to Barb Markham to Vic Barra, the few people that I saw there. So thank you all to the mayor's entire administration for working so hard in a few days to get 2,000 vaccinations scheduled. You know, talking with them, they stated that, you know, our entire senior community now feels a sense of relief. They can now talk to their family. They can see their families. They can go to the grocery store. The impact is really, really, really big for our seniors. So thank you so much for that. I did want to mention too, this vaccination clinic, I know the mayor mentioned as well. This is really a supplemental option for our senior residents. There are other sources available. Plus, we're not done holding vaccination clinics, so stay tuned to WLND, to cityofwestland.com. Call the mayor's office at 734-467-3200 to find out when the other events will be coming up. Make sure to get your name on the list. Then the last thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to read this entire email from Barb Markham, but everybody kind of touched on the email that Barb Markham sent. So I'm just going to read 2 paragraphs, so bear with me. Because there was some miscommunication about what they may have thought they heard or what they may have thought they read. And I want to clear it up for the residents at home that don't have access to the email. So these are words from Barb Markham, our senior director who runs the Friendship Center and our senior resources department. It shouldn't surprise anyone that seniors in any community call their senior center when issues arise that involve them. So was the case with COVID. As residents and members of the center call as early as in the summer regarding the COVID vaccine, have we heard anything? When can we expect the vaccine? Are we going to do a clinic at the center? And a myriad of other questions. I, meaning Barb, explained that the information was to be forthcoming, that no one really knows anything now. And when I did know something, if they want me to call them, I would be happy to do it. And so the list began. I also explained that if the clinic were to come to the Friendship Center, or for the Friendship Center, members of the center will be called first for a CVS clinic. Let me repeat that, a CVS clinic, because this was my primary responsibility. And when members have the vaccine, the center will be a safe environment and we can all, once again, fully open. This is my goal. So, do I want to make sure Friendship members are vaccinated? Absolutely yes. The list began in the summer for an eventual CVS clinic and grew since then to over 650 names. Then, the news about Wayne County hit the media. We had no idea about vaccines from Wayne County until February 19th, Friday, in the late afternoon. So, when my staff was asked about membership, it was that we have been what we've been doing since the summer. But the fact is, there are lots and lots of people on the list who are not Friendship Center members. The other paragraph I'm going to read, it says, I, meaning Barb Markham, have partnered with many different organizations and businesses throughout the years. One of these partnerships is with CVS. Gracie, who has been the pharmacist at 2 of the Westland CVS locations, and I have worked together for years doing flu shot clinics at the center for the members. When those who attend the center on a regular basis are healthy, they are not making the Friendship Center a hotbed of pathogens. The last thing we need is a flu or COVID outbreak at a senior center. Hence the flu shot clinics and a COVID clinic for our members when we could provide it. Gracie and I spoke on different occasions over the summer. She told me that as soon as the restrictions would allow, she would come and do the COVID vaccine at the center, just like she does with the flu vaccines. I told her at that time, I would love to do as many clinics as I could for all the seniors in Westland, and she agreed. So, I don't know if certain council members don't read their email, if they don't take the time to actually speak to directors when information's out there. I know I did. I know I made sure I read the email, I responded immediately, and then I talked to her in person. So I appreciate the council members that actually spoke to her and to get the correct information, the accurate information. But last thing, Council President, I just want to remind the council that we do have our strategic planning session this Saturday morning, and it's going to be on economic development. I think it's going to be really important for folks to be there. So the residents at home, if you want information on that, you can go to cityofwestland.com on the calendar page and get information on our Saturday event. It should start around 9:30 and go to about noon. That's all I have tonight.
All right, I'm going to try and be short and sweet. So it was a 1-item agenda today. So really quick, thank you, Councilwoman Rakowski, for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance today, and always for your continued passion. Jed, Chief Jadrusik, I know you're not there, or your camera's off. If you could take a look, I was a little concerned about what Mr. Warren said about the drag racing, and so if you could just look into that and maybe shoot us an email when you get a minute, just get us a little bit more detail. That was concerning to me, as well as I'm sure a number of my colleagues. I saw them nodding their heads, so if you could look into that, I'd be thankful. Mayor, if you could respond, if you get Mr. Farrick's email somewhere, if you take a look at it, or Tony, if you got lost in email land, just like Councilwoman Green said, like I always said, you can email it to any one of us council members, and we'll always forward it. So always eager to help you and pass along information. So, and that goes to anybody. If you send an email or you miss something, mayor's office does get pretty busy. So we don't expect them to answer the same day, usually give them a day or two unless it's really urgent. But if the email fell on the floor, or what happens quite often, if you didn't certify your email address, our Sendio or our security server will block it. So if you don't reply, if you've never emailed the mayor's office before, if it's new, or if you're from a different email address, that does happen. So please be aware of that. So look for if that email, if it got kicked back, you might not even noticed it, and that might have even gone to your spam folder. So just take a look for that. But you can always fix it by picking up the phone and dialing the mayor's office too. So Shannon and Jackie will be able to take a note. But if you exhaust that, email one of us council members, any one of us, the easiest number to remember, whatever you want, and give us a ring, and we'll be able to forward it on to the mayor. He's really good about responding. Last, I wanted to say, there's a lot of things to touch on. I really wanted to get the thank yous out. So I did work and volunteer at the event today. Thank you, Warren Evans and the Wayne County Commissioners, Glenn Anderson and Al Haddis for working to get us these vaccines. It's very tough to get them right now. It's extremely, I don't want to say competitive, but it's very difficult to get your hands on them. And getting 2,000 is, while it might sound like not a lot, it's a good start. And we got to eat this elephant one bite at a time. So thank you so much to the county for helping us with that. Thank you to our Westland firefighters, Chief Morris. Thank you to the entire team and you. For those of you who don't know, our firefighters were out there alongside everybody else performing the vaccinations. They even started doing draws with the certified nurses and everything else. They were on the front lines doing these vaccinations, and without them, there's no way we would even come close to meeting our objectives for today. And it was rewarding for me to see our firefighters doing that kind of work and our paramedics doing that kind of work, and all of the positive feedback they got from the residents. If I heard, "Is it over?" I didn't even know I had a shot. One time I heard it a million. Our guys are fantastic. Our guys and gals are fantastic at the fire department. Chief, you got some great people there. So thank you so much. And thank you again. Please pass along my thanks to the entire department. Way to go. I was really proud for all of you guys today. I also want to thank the Michigan Army National Guard. For those who don't know, the Army National Guard has been activated and they are on the front lines of this every day. These are M-Day soldiers. For those who don't know, these were, spare the term, a weekend warrior, right? They're the 1 weekend a month, 2 week a year kind of people. They've been activated at quite some time, so they're activated. This isn't their normal job. This is their kind of there for emergencies, being National Guard, and they've been activated. So that's great. But some of the most professional, kind people I've seen working alongside, side by side, shoulder and shoulder with our fire department. I was proud to be a veteran evermore that moment. So it was great. And I got to talk to some outstanding soldiers that day, today. Thank you to the volunteers. There's a lot of people there who had nothing else to gain, no other reason to be there other than they wanted to be there. They were on their feet for that hard 8-9 hours today. I mean, I'm whooped. I'm here to tell you, I'm whooped. I'm sore. And I know a lot of our volunteers are sore. And there's a couple volunteers that got more years on me, but they were running circles around me because they were so excited to do it. So thank you to all the volunteers. If you were there, somebody was there was helping. Thank you. We couldn't have done it without you. Mayor, thank you to the entire administration. They were there working. You had a lot of our team there, your team there working today. And Mr. Clerk, I know you had some people there as well. Your workload is now 1 day extra that didn't get done for those people that were there, that now everybody back at the office had to double down or put in some extra time to make up for it. And it's probably going to happen again Wednesday. So thank you for bringing the administration out there. Every single member of the administration was positive. They were warm. They were welcome. The residents were happy to see them. And there was always a smile on all their face. And I'm just thrilled by their professionalism. Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank Councilwoman Rakowski. Please pass along my deepest gratitude to the Nankin Transit Authority for helping, find transportation for some of our residents. That's the transit authority of 5 communities. And we tied them up pretty good for Westland rides today. Okay, so, and by proxy, thank you to the other communities for working with us and understanding and giving us as much as they could offer in terms of transportation so that we can get these vaccinations done. And Councilman Rakowski, I hope we can return the favor to the other communities when it's their turn. So, but thank you, please pass that along. And lastly, thank you to the residents, all those positive people that were there. I know it was cold and I know it was tough. And I saw some really elderly people really battling the cold. And they still, by the time they got in and thawed out, they were still positive. Okay, they were still positive. I've seen a lot of people get really negative, and that's how they start on this call. When I saw today about old people who were scared and cold, and yet when they got through that entire line, they were still positive at the end. We all got something to learn from them. So I assume that all of you might take a turn and actually put down Facebook and put on your work boots and maybe help and get some positive attitude from all those people. It'll be good for you. It's good for the soul. It put me in a really good mood today. Even though I'm sore, my back's killing me. But thank you to all those people that I mentioned. I'm sure there's gonna be a lot more opportunities for all of us to work together in the future. This isn't going away. So we're gonna work together. That's how it's gonna go away. So thank you all. Thank you for your time. And again, Mayor, Chief, Everybody I ask, please again, pass along mine. And I thank all of my colleagues, thanks for all the work that all of your teams have done. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move, Londo.
Support, Cadwell.